Morphin time! Yeah!
Several days after Jason's mother's funeral, Kimberly goes to visit him because he is very depressed and won't accept help from anyone. She brings him food and Jason receives it with no desire to receive visitors. When they are in the kitchen, she realizes that several people have already brought him food as well and Jason has a lot of clutter in his house. She offers to help him, but Jason insists that he is fine and doesn't need anyone's help. When she leaves Jason's house, Kimberly runs into Trini outside and they begin to have a chat. Kimberly thought Trini had come to help Jason, but she had actually just left since she also realized that Jason wants to be alone. The two begin to talk about how after they get to Earth, they must answer all their cell phone messages since they don't have that signal in space to receive messages and calls from Earth. Trini also tells Kimberly that she needs to go shopping since they don't have clothes for humans in space. After trying on a lot of clothes, Trini decides to wear something more daring and Kimberly is a little confused since she had not seen Trini with that style, but she tells her that in space she learned not to follow cultural fashions. Then, they both sit down to eat and start to have a little awkward conversation as Trini starts to tell her about some secrets. Kimberly was surprised as she couldn't believe that there were other Power Rangers now that she knew about Andrus. Trini tells her that there are actually more things that they don't know and because of this Kimberly is very curious to know more about it. Trini begins to tell her about how everyone knows that Lord Draken had escaped from his cell and then returned to help with the Imperials, but that wasn't the first time he had actually returned. The first time he came back was when he killed Tommy and Rangers of all times and space came to defeat Draken. At that time, all the memories the Rangers had of that event were erased, but an emissary restored the Omega Rangers' memories and that is why Trini knows all of this. Kimberly gets a little confused and obsessed with all these secrets Trini told her and goes to the command center where Billy is repairing the Zords to ask him for a favor. She tells Billy that he was able to repair and upgrade the Green Ranger Power Coin, so maybe he can manage to upgrade the powers of the Power Rangers. Billy suspects that this request is because of something else so he asks Kimberly, and she replies that she talked to Trini about the future of the Power Rangers and found out that they are all replaceable. Billy starts to get interested in the situation and Kimberly tells him that the Rangers always put their lives at risk and need to increase their power to be prepared. Billy agrees to start working on something that will help them improve and is going to share the idea when he has something worthwhile. Kimberly goes to the GYM to train, but she is still very thoughtful about the whole thing. At that moment Tommy arrives and realizes that something is wrong with Kimberly. Even though he tries to talk about it, she doesn't feel like talking about all the bad things she is thinking. Even so, Tommy tells her that she doesn't have to go through all of this alone. At that moment, Kimberly receives an alert from Billy and Tommy decides to join her. The Rangers arrive at the command center to talk to Billy, and he tells them that he searched Zordon and Alpha's files so he wouldn't invent something that had already been made up and found something that can help them improve their powers. Billy's plan is to send the Rangers to a simulated pocket dimension where he can create fake villains so the Rangers can practice and use the new power. Kimberly and Tommy make their transformation and travel to the pocket universe Billy has prepared. Quickly, in this universe, you can find old villains, the Z-Putty Patrollers, which were the first soldiers that Rita used to confront the Power Rangers. Then, Billy introduces the most recent villains, the machines that Rocky and Matthew had to fight. The Rangers begin the battle and Billy tells them they can activate the new power to begin the test. The metal armor is the new power that the Rangers now have, which gives them more strength and power to continue battling. The Rangers begin to test their new power and realize that they can destroy enemies even with their bare hands. At that moment, Billy realizes that the new armor consumes a lot of power from the Morphin grid, but the problem with this new power is that the energy is very unstable. Because of this, Billy asks the Rangers to deactivate the new power, but Kimberly starts to really like the power and doesn't want to deactivate it. Tommy talks to Kimberly and tells her that they should deactivate the power and do what Billy says, but she still thinks she can control all that power. Billy clarifies to her that it's not about self-control, but that the new armor's power is volatile and that throws the Morphin grid out of control. The pocket dimension depends on the Morphin grid and it is very risky. At that moment, the communication with Billy is cut off and the Rangers try to connect again but are unsuccessful. They start to worry, so they decide they must get out of there, but realize that nothing works. At that moment, a black hole opens in the sky which begins to destroy everything in the city, including buildings, roads, and even the enemies that were there for the Rangers to practice. The ground begins to break, and lava appears. Now it forms a kind of tornado that falls to earth and forms a giant sphere that begins to swallow everything around it. At that moment, a voice is heard coming out of the sphere, a voice of someone that many of us know, but that the Rangers of that time still do not know. From the sphere begin to come out several of the worst villains that have existed in the entire history of Power Rangers. Now we get to see Trakina, the villain from Lost Galaxy. Then there's Sledge, a villain we started seeing in Dino Charge E but was in several more seasons. We can also see the Black Lion Warrior from Jungle Fury. Then there is Void Queen from Dino Fury, and finally we can see one of the worst villains ever, Ransik from Time Force.